Greetings, YouTube. Recently, when I was on Instagram somewhere doing something, uh, the term femicide came up in a conversation. And one particular dude, and it's always a dude, got very upset because he feels that the term femicide is redundant, that you don't need the term femicide because we already have the term murder and homicide, that you don't need a gendered version of the term such as femicide. And I made an offhand reply and I said, well, because he got upset. Well, because more men get killed than women. That's a common. It's like they'll tell you more men get raped than women get raped, and more men get killed by than women get killed. And I always reply with, "Who's doing the killing?" Which is a point he completely ignored. He just stepped right over it and then continued with his screed about it doesn't matter. This term is yada yada. He kept rolling, missing the point that I was trying to make, that if men would stop doing the killing, just as in if men would stop doing the raping, there would be fewer murders and fewer rapes in the world. And that this is a particular masculine problem that we have. That toxic masculinity, the patriarchy, has created a situation where men feel that the only emotion they are allowed to express, or the only emotion they even possess, is that of anger. And it's perfectly acceptable for them to act on that anger at all times and in any way they choose. And that their response to the world through acts of violence is perfectly normal. That is just something that is so assumed into into all the human cultures that there are, that we just don't notice it anymore. But the term femicide is important to me because it's not just murder. It's the killing of a woman because she is a woman. Now, it is true that women are going to be far more likely to be killed by a domestic partner than anybody else. Following that, it's going to be probably a family member. Uh, Women being killed by strangers just pales in comparison to someone they don't know. It's going to be a domestic partner. It's going to be a family member. It's going to be a friend. It's going to be someone that's in there, or a neighbor, someone in their intimate sphere of social contacts. Uh, but that's also true for men. If the most likely person to kill you, if you're in a relationship, is your partner, if your partner's a man. If your partner's a woman, you're not very likely to be killed by her. A man is very unlikely to be killed by a woman. Even women don't kill women at the rates that men kill women. But femicide, at least in the way I've always interpreted the term, is that the woman is being killed, or women, in the case of some mass shootings, is being killed specifically because they are a woman. They are being targeted for their gender by this man, and again, it's almost always a man, is angry at women as a class of human. That they're just like there are racists that will go out and shoot brown people and black people. There are men that they feel they need to take out their anger at women for some perceived slight that has been enacted against them because they don't get what they want from the world, and particularly they don't get what they want from women. They feel that they are due something. They have something that is expected of women to deliver upon them. And when women fail to do that, that causes a mental and emotional conflict. And because of toxic masculinity and men being incapable of, for the most part, being introspective and having emotional intelligence, they act out on that violence, and that anger just flows out into the world. So that there are women being targeted just because they're women. It's not because they're humans. It's because they're women. Sometimes it's because they're women of a particular ethnicity. Sometimes, for example, there was a shooting not long ago where Asian women were being targeted specifically by a killer. Um, but it was still the women in this location were being targeted as opposed to just any Asian person. That was an act of femicide. This dude showed up at a place where he knew he would find Asian women, and he killed Asian women. That was his goal. And we've seen this before, that men hunting women because they are women. Not even necessarily women they know. They're not targeting a particular woman. They are targeting the class of women. That's where they're enacting their anger towards. That's where they're focusing their rage. Yes, they're far more likely for a woman to be killed by a man because they're being stalked. That is true. But also, you are more likely to be killed by a man who is targeting you because you're a woman than by a woman who's targeting you as a woman. That's sadly just the way it is. And we just accept this. And then we have guys like that I was interacting with who just seem to ignore that fact, that just want to concentrate about the numbers of men that are killed and ignoring my reply that, well, who's doing the killing? If men would become emotionally intelligent, if our society would allow men to be emotionally expressive of the full range of human emotional spectrum, and they were able to reach out and ask for help from friends and family and from from the mental health community, then men would be less violent. But they're not allowed that. They're told from birth that big boys don't cry. That men don't cry when they're happy. Men don't cry when they're sad. They just bottle it up. They just don't show it until it breaks. And as someone who has anger issues, I know what that feels like. And it's horrible. At one time, I would have thought nothing about letting myself be lost in that rage, but now it terrifies me because I understand how bad it is, how unhealthy it is. And I'm getting better at stopping it. I'm getting better at understanding that that anger isn't helping anybody and it's harming me. It's literally that anger is killing you. So if you can learn how to deal with it, you're going to be doing yourself positive long-term health benefits. But in this particular topic of, femicide, the term is valid in my opinion, that there are men who target women because of the class of human they belong to, which is the fact that they are women. And until men stop doing that, I think that's a valid term. And I will endlessly be confused by guys that can't see that, by guys that don't seem to understand that it doesn't matter that how many men get killed. If the person's doing the killing is fellow men, maybe that's the problem. But they see it. Because again, that would require a degree of self-reflection that most men don't have. I had the advantage of a good therapist, supportive friends and family, and chemicals, because my brain doesn't make them. And it's taken me decades, hard work to get where I am. And I have a long way to go. And I can tell you just now, this filming of this video right here in the 9 minutes I've been talking to you has begun to generate a headache right here. And when I get headaches right here, it's because they're associated with my emotions. That's where I get those headaches. And it sucks. Just talking about this shit is hard. And I've worked on it. So for a lot of men who haven't worked on it at all, talking about it is darn near impossible.